Today we're going to talk a lot about blocks and the benefits of using blocks and why blocks are important. Understanding blocks is important. Okay, so we're going to kind of talk about creating up a block, a base point in that block, and kind of adjusting for rotations and things like that. So without further ado, we're going to draw a circle. I'm going to draw from 0, 0, 0. And I'm going to make it 0.25 in size. I'm going to zoom extents on that, and here's my circle. All right, so now what I'm doing, I'm going to kind of draw a directional arrow situation here. So I'm going to draw a P line from, I'm just going to draw an arrowhead, essentially pointing out this one particular deal. Mid of, well, not mid, but QUA of, because a circle has quadrants. So understand that you have quadrant, 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 quadrant. Okay, so I'm going to go to this quadrant here, QA here. Then I'm going to do QA of here, and then I'm going to close that. Okay, so I now have that. Now I'm going to put an arrow on the kind of the leader part on the end over here. I'm going to go P line from mid of here out this way. Boom. I'm going to offset that 0.125. Give myself a little bit of about halfway there. Boom. And then I'm going to trim this out. All right. Boom. I'm going to go ahead and not going to hit F1. I'm going to hit erase. I'm going to erase this here, and I'm going to go ahead and trim out from here to here and here. All right, so now you can see the circle. I'm going to turn off the UCS icon. Boom. So I don't have that in the way. All right, so now I have a circle with an arrow that's pointing in a direction. I want to go ahead and fill this arrow in. Okay, there's a couple different ways you can do this. With the hatch, you can actually pick an internal point. So I'm going to type in hatch, and it's going to prompt me up with this dialog box here. I'm going to pick here, and I'm going to pick a solid, which is under other predefined. Solid. I'm going to pick OK, and then I'm going to pick a point. I'm going to pick it right inside there and enter. All right, and pick OK. And there's my solid arrow. Now, here's my block. This is my block. I want the center of my block because I'm placing something that's a circle and I'm pointing at a direction. So I'm going to actually want this to kind of rotate wherever I draw it to. All right, so I'm going to place my insertion point at the center of this circle here. So first I'm going to name my block. And I'm actually just going to call this circle arrow, okay? Circle arrow or arrow circle. Let's go arrow circle. All right, and I'm going to pick my point, and it's going to be centered. And I happen to know it's 0, 0, 0 because that's the way I drew it. I'm going to pick there. Now can I select the objects? I'm going to select my objects. Now in the block command, you'll see a couple of different things. Convert to block, retain, delete. Okay, open in block editor. There's a few things here that you can do. Hold on 1 second. Not seeing any of the video. Okay, well, hold on. Let me stop and reset and reshare again. Hold on. So hold on. Let me stop sharing. And I'm going to share again. And wrong screen. Damn it. Share screen. Okay. Are y'all seeing it now, Brandon?
Can confirm.
You can't confirm or can confirm?
Can.
Okay, thank you. All right, good deal. All right, so we have our arrow circle here. All right, here's what we drew second for a little bit. All right, we picked our base point, which is 0, 0, 0. Okay, and we are going to actually have that go ahead and convert to a block. Okay, allow exploding means that if I want to later, I can explode it. When you turn that off, it basically just creates an annoyance, and you have to actually go in and be at the block, set it to allow exploding, then get out of the block, and then you can explode it. Scale uniformly. You can lock it into scaling uniformly as well. That's something like when we were doing last week with the 3D cube. If you set scale uniformly, you would not be able to actually do all those things. Annotative is actually something for varying scale factors and presentation. We're not going to mess with that right now. I'm not going to open the block editor. I'm drawing the pick point. We've got that. And I've got the objects. I'm going to go ahead and convert this to a block. All right. Now, something special about what we created this on. We created it on the layer 0. Layer 0 is every AutoCAD drawing there is. Now, layer 0 is a very special one because what happens is if something is defined on the layer 0 and it's a block per se, or an XREF or something like that, it takes on the properties of the layer upon which it was inserted on. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and create some layers. I'm going to create a layer called option 1. Okay, and there's nothing special about that. I'm going to set that to blue. Actually, blue is a horrible color. We'll go magenta. And I'm going to create another one. We'll say option 2. 2. And we're going to set this one to yellow. All right. All right, good. Now I've got those. Now I'm going to go ahead and take this and put it on a different layer. When I put it on a different layer, you're going to notice that it takes on the properties of that layer, which I put it on option 1, it goes to purple. If I put it on option 2, it goes to yellow. All right, so let's look at this. If I copy this, boom, and say if I wanted this point north or 90 degrees up. If I click on this, there's an option here to actually pick the rotation here. I can set the rotation to 90 just like that. Now, what happens if I want that to be at a particular angle and I'm using the rotate command? If I type in rotate, if I rotate this one, it's already at zero angle, and I go from center, I can actually set that to 17.87777. Okay. So now here I am, and say I want to rotate this an additional 12.3333 degrees. Okay, so I don't know the angle of this right now. I could actually come over here and click on 18. If you notice, that's not what I typed in a second ago. All right, now the way we actually make sure we see these things is we type in units, and I set my precision for my angles to have full decimals. I pick OK. Now if I pick on it, you will see this in here. All right, so you can see how this can kind of get screwed up. So 9 times out of 10, your unit's going to be set to 0, and as far as just 1 or 0 decimal points accuracy. That's just the way a lot of people do it, and it's defaulted. But you can always find out, and you always fix this rotation. Say I wanted this to be the 37.4 degrees, and I wasn't going to use this particular deal. I'll do it. I want to actually rotate this to a particular direction of 37.3 degrees. I can type in rotate. And I've already selected it, so that's why it already is there. I'm going to type in the center because this is my base point. Now, if I rotate this 17 point something degrees, it's actually just rotating 7 points. It's not what I want. I want, because if I just rotate and drag here, it's not what I want to get. Notice the angle of this line is not going to the point. It doesn't matter where I pick, it's going to be that 17 degrees more than what I want. So I want to reset this rotation to be relative to that arrowhead point. So I'm going to type in R for reference. Then I'm going to say center of here to end point of here. Now I'm back to rotating it exactly where I want it. Okay, this is how you manipulate your blocks. When you're inserting a block, now next one we're going to insert a block. I'm going to do dash insert. If I can type. Okay, and when an arrowhead circle is actually already defaulted, I'm going to pick that, and then I'm going to pick a point. Now it's asking me to pick a point. I can type in a point, or I can just pick a point. I'm going to pick a point. Okay, now it's asking me for an X, Y, and Z. Right now, it starts off with X. If you notice down here, it says highlight says X, enter X scale factor. Okay, I'm just going to hit 1 or enter or 1, and then my Y, I'm going to hit enter as well. It doesn't prompt you for the Z. Okay, you can get to that property in the properties dialog, but it does not prompt you for the Z. You can always type in Z and then give it a Z scale factor if you wanted to as well from there. Now, notice what happens is I'm actually on that 0 degree rotation, and I'm dragging the direction of my arrowhead block. This is the way you want to develop your blocks, so that whatever is pointing to the right or to 0 degrees, that's going to be your key to where you're actually rotating to. And that's kind of a trick you want to understand. So if we're here, let's create another block. I'm going to go in here. I'm going to go be edit. And now I'm going into what's called the block editor. I'm going to go ahead and edit this block. I'm going to save it as something different. Okay, I'm going to rotate this. Say, actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get out of this. Be close. All right, so here I am. I decided I want this to be, I'm going to explode this, and I want this to be a different block. So I'm going to type in block, and I'm going to say, I'm going to pick this, and then I'm going to pick this, and I'm going to just type in something here, 0, 0, 1 for odd. I'm going to pick my point. Now, if I just pick a point somewhere and I pick here, okay, and then I select objects, boom. Now I pick OK, it's good. Now, if I want to insert this block, and it's actually already set to the last block that I was working with, I'm going to hit enter. Now, if I pick this, notice the insertion point is not at a point that makes any sense. This just randomly picked somewhere, okay? And now I've X, Y, and now if I do rotation, look how weird this is. Okay, your insert point is a good base point, a good spot where you'd actually grab something and manipulate it with controls. Okay, so think about that when you're creating your blocks. You want to make sure you create a good spot of control that makes sense for the thing. Okay, couple of places that we could have actually put it on this block. Now, if I wanted to get this to 0, how do you think I'm going to do that? It's not going to work very well. If I wanted this to be exactly 0, turn on it, ortho F8, that's not going to help me at all. And since I picked a screwed up rotation, I'm like, this is not working very well at all. That doesn't even line up with that. And it's like, okay, where am I at? So if I pick here, now if I wanted to get this to a particular rotation, that arrowhead pointing in direction, right, it's kind of difficult to do this. I mean, I can actually use this. I can go ROTE, and I can pick that block, and then I can give it a base point. I'll say center of here. Now I can override because I'm picking the center, not the insertion point of my block. And then I can say reference from center of here to int of here. And now I have that control. Okay, but I don't have that natively at the block. So here's my insertion point right there. If I look at my insertion point on this one, that's that one. If I look at this one, look where it's at. It's right there. It makes sense. It's in line with everything. And this is what you want to pay attention to. You also want to realize that when you're drawing your blocks, you want to think about the purpose of a block. All right. So right now I have 4 entities in this drawing. I have 2 block references here and 2 block references here. These are one block and these are a block. I have one definition for this block and I have one definition for this block. Those are stored in the drawing. Okay. And so what now I have 2 insertion points that reference these definitions. Think of these as little blueprints. It knows how to build this from the blueprint, which is the block definition. So if I go into the block definition, see if I list this, it tells you it is a block reference, okay? Also known as an insert as far as the actual entity level goes, okay? So, and if you actually pick over here, it says block reference, okay. It's a reference. It means it references a block's definition. So if we go into a block, type in bedit, we pick on here, this is the actual definition of the block. So if you want to make any changes here, if I make any changes here, it actually makes the changes to the block I just did. Say if I wanted to put a little bit more line work on the end of this, I could say line from QA of, line from QUA of here. And I wanted to draw this back this direction, 0.5, boom. And I do the same thing here, 0.5. Now, when I exit this block and save it, this will automatically appear, and these lines will be the opposite side of this here. So I'll be closed. All right, so now they're all right there. Apparently I did something weird when I did this one. I included that block as part of that block. So I'm going to go in here and fix that. I'm going to bedit because I made circle 1 has that block in it, but it's rotated and screwed up. So I'm gonna pick OK. I didn't explode it before I did it. So now I'm gonna explode this, boom. Now I'm gonna declose this and I'm gonna erase the oops, still there. Explode, boom. And see where I said it could not be exploded. I must have checked that on. Okay, that's what the alarm was. I'm gonna be closed and I'm gonna go bedit. And I'm gonna go to circle because I want that to be explodable. All right, so I'm gonna click on that and allow exploding. It says no. I'm gonna set that to yes. Now I can explode that and be closed. All right. But again, you typically do not want to explode blocks. Okay. Bedit. Okay. And now I'm going to explode this. Boom. Now it's exploded. I can erase these lines here and it's no longer a block. So now I'll be closed. Boom. All right. So now anything I do to this one will not affect that one. And anything I do to this one will not affect this one. But the point is, I only have 4 entities in here. Okay. It doesn't matter how many entities I have inside this block, it's only 4 entities because there's 1 block reference, 2 block reference, 3 block references, and 4 block references. Okay, so if I save this file, okay, it's going to be one particular size. Okay, let's save this as block test. So, boom. I save that. I'm going to close this. I get that out of the way. And I'm going to type in XR. XR is the XREF, okay? It actually shows me kind of what file I'm currently in, but it also shows me the size of my file. It's 34.6 kilobytes. Okay, what's nice about this is I can copy a whole bunch of these. I mean, a whole bunch. And it's not going to grow any bigger than what it would take for just one block reference. Okay, it's going to grow a little bit bigger, but it's not going to be the same definition of all of these things in here. So if I save this, it'll get bigger, 46.2 kilobytes. Okay, but now I'm going to explode all this. Oops, I'm going to explode all this. And now it's going to be considerably bigger than what it should have been with blocks. Now, when I save now, look how much it jumped up. It went from 46, I think, to 102. Okay, that is 2.5 times larger than using blocks. Okay, I'm going to undo that, and I've undone the explode. Now I save again, boom, it's going to go back down to 44.2 kilobytes. That's the benefit of blocks. It doesn't matter how complicated your block is, you store that complexity once. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to do a lot of these copies. Okay, now here I am. All right, so I undid all that. I used the U command to undo. Now, if you use the U command, it undoes one thing back at a time. There's also an undo command. There are two different commands, so keep that in mind. Undo, if you type in undo, you can actually hit the word mark, or M for mark. That creates a marker point that it can actually undo back to. So now if I do a whole bunch of weird stuff, I use dash array and I do something like this, and I say P for polar. I pick this point here and I say 3000 and 360 degrees, and boom. And it's going to rotate all that. And there's, I made a whole bunch of those. Now, this is just a bunch of my blocks. And just the fact that they're solid makes it look like it's just one big, a couple of solid circles. Looks kind of interesting. Okay. But if I save this, it's just going to be big enough to have all those components inside of it, just the inserts, because there are 12,000 of them in here. Okay, there's 12,000 blocks in here. So that's 12,000 blocks that's actually storing. Now, if I explode this, that might take a second. It's 525 kilobytes. Okay, most of the drawings you're going to be, said 600 could not be exploded. Oh, all right, it's not exploding 600 of them or 6,000 of them. Most components, most drawings that you're going to work in are going to be anywhere from 100 to 500 kilobytes. That is a good drawing size. It's manageable, it works really well, and you kind of go from there. Now, when I hit Control S here to save this again, it jumped up to 3.33 megabytes. Can you see the difference between that? It's substantial. Okay. Now, this is just one simple block that I've exploded. That's actually only half of the block that I exploded. Okay. Now, let's talk about that undo command again. I'm going to type in undo. B for back. It's going to go all the way back to that point where I said create a marker. Boom. And here we are. And if I control save again, and I'm back down to 37.1 kilobytes. All right. So my file size, because I'm using blocks, is a lot more efficiently to do things. Okay. Similarly, if you are drawing complex 3D objects and things like that, if you're doing any duplication, you want to try and utilize blocks to keep your drawing size down, because the more complicated your 3D solid gets, the more intense it is as far as the data that's stored in that solid. It stores all the construction points and everything that actually makes to make that solid, and it can get rather large after a period of time. If you have like a bunch of one-offs, then that's fine. You don't have to make them in a block, but sometimes it's easier to manipulate them. And just in case you do have to copy them, it is a benefit that's actually a good feature. Okay, so we talked about valid insert points for these things. Okay, I'm going to actually, I don't like this block anymore. It's horrible. I'm going to delete that. And I'm going to use the purge command. It's another way to get, remove some things from your drawing. I'm going to type in purge. Now the purge dialog box looks kind of like this. Okay, you can purge various items. I'm going to hit purge all. Okay, boom, purge all checked items. And I'm going to say close. And now if I save again, my drawing file will get a little bit smaller. Now, granted, those two inserts and that one block definition did not make up a whole lot, because it's only one hatch pattern, two P lines, and a circle, and that was all that was in that one. All right, so now let's look at something a little rectangular, okay? I'm gonna go from here, I'm gonna go 1, and I'm gonna go 0.25 and 1 and close. All right, so now here's a block. Now, if we're gonna make this a block and we're gonna put some attributes in here, let's do ATT I'm gonna put an attribute in here. An attribute allows me to actually change a value inside of a block, but so if you're looking for something to tag something, you're saying, hey, this is my bedroom, this is my living room, this is my table, this is whatever. So if you're actually using it as a tagging reference or some kind of annotation, you'd use this. So I'm just going to call it my tag is going to be just be tag right now. If you want to create something that identifies what it is, okay, let's call this a room tag. So I'm going to say room tag. You cannot have spaces in your tag name for an attribute. Okay. Now I can prompt it. I can say room tag ID. All right. And default, we'll just put it as a dash. And that's actually made it room. Okay. I'm gonna make it all caps because you're gonna work in caps. All right. Now it's asking for text justification settings because you're actually placing something that's kind of like text. It has some of the properties of text. So we're going to set that to middle. Actually, I'm going to set to middle center. And I'm going to stick with standard. That's fine with me. And I'm going to set the height to, this is 0.25 high. So I'm going to go 0.2. That's fine. So it'll fit inside there. That's fine. I'm going to lock the position. It means it's going to stay relative to that position to the block. All right. I'm going to specify the insertion point on screen. I'm going to pick OK. And I'm going to set it to the middle of this box. To get there, I'm going to use the M2P OSNAP. And then I'm going to pick the endpoint of here and then the endpoint of here. The M2P means it's going to give me the middle point between those 2 points. And I missed END point of here. All right. So now it's placed it in there. Now I'm going to create a block out of this. Okay. Block. And we're going to call this room tag. Makes sense. I can use upper and lowercase here. It's not a bad thing to do because it kind of helps it make it a little more readable and it's a little more friendly on the eyes. Now I'm going to specify a point on screen. I'm going to pick a point. So where would be a beneficial point to place to pick the insert point of this box? Now it might be midpoint here. It could be midpoint here. It could be at this corner if you want to. It depends on what you're actually going to be using it for. If you're going to attach a leader to it or something like that, it might be beneficial to put it on one end or the other. But this is most likely to be centered or middled because it's actually inside, the justification of this attribute tag is actually middle of this thing. Notice I have too many O's now. I'll fix that in just a second. All right, but I'm going to say INS of, I'm going to type it again, INS of, now I'm going to pick this. Now, with you're dealing with Arial or 2-type fonts, it's kind of hard sometimes to find the insertion point of a piece of text. If I zoom out and I get kind of out here a little bit, then it's going to pick that, and that's fine. And I'm going to select the objects. I'm going to pick here and here. When you have multiple attributes, they're going to prompt the user in the order that you picked them when you're creating the block. So I'm going to hit enter. Okay, I'm going to pick OK. I'm going to go ahead and open this in the block editor because I want to fix that tag name. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to click on that, and I'm just going to take out that extra O because I added that extra O in there. Okay, pick OK, and then I can do escape, B close, and yes, save my changes. All right, so now I have one block already created here, and I can copy this block with a copy command, and I can put it over here, over here, over here, and over here. Well, what's nice about this is an attribute. It's actually at the entity level. It's attached to it. So if I list this, you will see there is the block reference, and then there's also an attribute attached to it. Okay, just now, since I've inserted these, nothing happens to these attributes if I modify the block. Nothing happens to them. Their insertion point stays there and everything else. If you do want them to synchronize up with the attribute definitions in the block, there is a command or a function that will allow you to do that. But keep in mind, those attributes are actually separate from the block. They're just attached to it. All right. So I can change these. I can double click on here and I can say back. Okay. Now, if you notice, there's not a whole lot of room in this block for this text because of the size I kept it. Okay. And I'm going to say kitchen. Okay. All right. And I pick OK. And I'll set this to bedroom. All right. So you notice that doesn't work very well. It's like, okay, I either need to make it bigger or I need to make the text smaller. since this is an attribute, it's not part of the block insert or the definition anymore, because the attribute definition defines how the attribute will be attached when it's inserted. That might get confusing for you, but later as you start to realize, you'll understand how it works a little bit. I'm trying to kind of present that to you right now. Okay, so if you notice this also, if I wanted to rotate this, I could easily just rotate this to 90 degrees. Okay, it means the direction of my text is going to go in the direction of where my rotation is. So since I set my text at 0 and my rotation was at 0, aligned that way when I created the block, the alignment of my text will be the alignment of the block's rotation. So if it's at 37.5 degrees, that's going to be 37.5 degrees. So if I click this and I rotate that to 37.5, 37.5, boom, that means my text can be at 37.5. So if I double click on this attribute here, I can actually go here, options, okay, and you can see the rotation is 37.5. All right, properties, okay. You can also come in here if you really wanted to change this, for like, hey, it's a little bit too big or it's a little too wide. I can adjust the width of this text, okay. Which one am I on? Let's do this one here. This one here. If I want that to fit in there a little bit, I could cheat right here, okay. I could say 0.75, boom. Oh, that gets it kind of close. I can change that to 0.65, boom, and it fits. All right, well, that's great. Okay, that all works well and good. But what happens if somebody later comes back and updates the attribute definition and then runs what we call Batman or attribute sync? That means it actually goes back and resynchronizes all the attributes along with it. Okay, so if I do attribute sync, or let's do Batman, and I'm going to use block attribute manager, there's room tag, I'm going to hit sync. And look what happens. It puts it back to what it was defaulted. Okay, so everything is, kind of back to where it was right there. All right, so that kind of screwed things up for me. So I'm like, bummer. All right, it should not have actually changed the data that was in there, which is kind of weird. So that's uncomforting, but we'll look into that later. That shouldn't normally do that part. So let's do this. Let's edit the block. We're going to go in there, update the room tag. And we're going to make this a little bit smaller text. I don't want it 0.2. I'm going to say 0.15625. And I'm going to set the width to be a little more consistent around 0.8. Okay, that's a good text width. Okay, now I notice it kind of fits in there a little bit. I'm going to be close. Save my changes. Notice that does not change what we did here. I have to again run that Batman, which is batch attribute manager or block attribute manager. Okay, and hit sync. Boom, and they all sync up, and now they're actually matching what they were supposed to match. Okay, so I can type in AC. I'm going to do a new value. I'm going to say bedroom. I'm going to set this to bedroom. I'm going to set this to bath. Boom, and I'm going to set this to kitchen. Boom. All right, and so we're good. So keep that in mind when you're doing your blocks. You understand how that attribute stuff works. So if you come back in here and add attributes to this block, say we made this block a little bit bigger. Let's do this, be edit. And I pick OK. Let's actually, let's go ahead and bet. We're going to make this bigger now. I'm going to take this up. I'm going to get 0.25 up this way. And we're going to copy. Now, keep in mind, I want to keep the data that's in there. I'm going to move this one. Move this one up 0.25. Because that's my primary, that's my top. I'm going to hit copy this. I'm going to copy it down 0.25. Now I want to give it a new tag name. Always use unique tag names. Don't just use something weird. Now we're going to call this DESC for description, or just type in DESC description if you can type. Okay, room. God, I can't type today. Okay, and default is play area. Okay, pick OK. Boom. All right. Now if I be close, save my changes. Notice what happens. Okay. I moved it inside the deal to go to the top, but that didn't really affect these because the attribute is attached to the insert. Okay, I had to actually do my Batman to get that to work correctly. Okay, now I'm going to check these settings, make sure something weird's not going on here. So boom, 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 boom. What's that? Did I change? Okay. Maybe that's the problem there. I'm not going to change the default. I'm going to change the value. Not sure why that did that. That's weird. Okay. Apply change these. Okay. And we're actually going room tag, and that should work fine. And I'm going to synchronize it. Boom. And there you go. Okay. So that did work much better that time. Okay. So now you can see what everything's going on here. All right. So something to understand is, what did I do here? I moved. Notice the insertion point now is not in the center of the thing anymore. Okay. So if I had a room, and this was originally down inside here, boom, to M2P of END point of this and END point this. Okay, so this is originally in the center, but if you look at this, this is not in the center of this anymore. Now, also something about blocks and attributes and text and things like that. If you have text and things like that in a block, you can hit the insertion point for the text as well. So if I do a line from INS of, if I hit here or here on that text, it's going to be the same spot. I can also catch the insertion point for this one here. So keep that in mind. Text and attributes do have insertion points of their own, and it will go inside of a block and find those points. So keep that in mind when you're actually snapping to your points as well. Okay. Now the purpose of this, I want this to actually line up better with the room, so I'll hit 0. Not that. Oh, I changed my route. Do RO S of this 0. But I rotated 0, my bad. RO auto S of that minus 90 degrees. Okay. So the attributes have, like I said, have their own properties. So I can actually set these to a different rotation. And if I didn't lock them in position, I could actually move them. Okay, so if I set the angle in here to 90 for this one, you can see how that can kind of get kind of messy. So you want to control that inside your block and keep those constraints on there. Okay, so we're going to edit that. Go back in here. I'm going to click on this and click on this, and you have the properties down over here. It says what you want to do. All right. Lock position, yes. Okay. Upside down, no. Preset, verify, constant, preset. Text alignment, okay. 0, boom. Text alignment Y. This should be 0. Okay. Oh, no, oh, that's my bad. That's not what I was actually hitting there. Okay, 0. I'm going to do that. You can also use Control Z for your undo as well. Make sure you're not doing anything. Control Z, okay, and that'll actually same thing as doing U and undo. All right, just like most Windows programs, the shortcut keys work the same in AutoCAD. Okay, Control Z is undo, Control Y is redo, but redo only works one time. So if you zoom or something like that, then it will not actually. It has to be an undo that you did the last time for anything to happen like that. All right. So we've created this. We need to move this insertion point. Okay, so if I draw a line from 0, 0, 0 in here, look where it's at. It's right in the center of that text. Okay, your block's base point is going to be 0, 0 in that block because that's where you actually decided the insertion point to be. So I'm going to move all of this from the M to P of END point of here to END point of here to where? Okay, moving that down to the endpoint of here. So now it's going to be right in the middle. So I'm going to close that. But notice my other things, my attributes aren't synced up again. I'm going to have to use Batman again. And I can sync. And now everything is good to go. And if you notice this line, of course, I apparently put that line in there as well. I need to edit that, take it out. Sometimes I leave trash in my blocks and you just have to go back and delete them. There. All right. And again, the beauty of this is you, for this storage of this stuff in your file size, you're going to have 1 block, 2 blocks, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 5 blocks, and then you'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 attributes. Okay. And then you have these 2 blocks here as well. So that's all it's going to be here along with this 1 polyline. So if I do a Control A here, and then if you look over here in properties, you'll see all. You have 8 entities. You have 7 block references and 1 polyline. And this is what it takes to have a polyline. This is the data it takes to have a polyline. Have all this information right here. Okay. And you have points that go with it as well. So if your polyline has a lot of points, you will have a point for each one of those as well. Now, if you go to blocks, it doesn't matter how complicated your block is. This is all the data it stores. You have a color, you have a layer, you have line type, you have a line type scale, you have a line weight, a plot style, transparency, hyperlink, bilayer, you have position X, Y, and Z, scale X, Y, and Z. You have a name, you have a position, a rotation, you have annotative, whether it's annotative or not, it's a flag, you have block units, and you have unit factors. There are a few other ones that don't show up in here for your, that aren't really for you to look at, but there's so much data there, and that's all it's going to take for that block. So it doesn't matter how complicated that block is, that block reference right there itself will always be the same. Now, the block definition is stored in the database in the drawing as well. So that one time is going to be stored in your file. So if I type in vEdit, you can see these. This has 1, 2 blocks in it. Okay. And doesn't matter how complicated they are, it only stores that reference once, unless of course you explode it, you have 14,000 of these things, and then it just makes your the file size grow substantially. So if I hit Control Save, you can see we're sitting at 36.7 kilobytes. All right. Now, what's nice about blocks as well is you can scale them. So if my scale factor was 32, I could hit that, and I could scale this up to 32. And guess what? That takes up no additional space in my drawing. Okay. Now, it does jump up every once in a while on you because it's actually doing something weird, but that is not a reflection of the fact that I changed that scale. So you have more, even though the scale factor is different, it doesn't take up any additional space or anything like that. You can have multiple scales and everything else, so everything is good. All right. Okay. So this is usable. It's got a good insertion point on it, and you can actually update it and know where it's going to modify from. As long as you know, so if you, let's say if you had something like a wall, let's draw a wall here. Okay. Let's say 12. Boom. Okay, offset for boom to boom, boom, boom. Say this, I'm going to erase this big one. Actually, I'm just going to change the size of it to 0. No, 1. No, that's the wrong thing. 1, 1, 1. Okay, so if I move this here from QUA of here to mid of here. All right, so this all works great for this particular thing because I'm pointing at that, but this is ending at a location. Now, if I change this block any, let's go in here and edit this. And I update it to where it extends out here a little bit. Say if I take this and I stretch this. Now, what's nice is the hatch is going to stretch with it. Actually, the hatch is trapped and confined by the circle, but I'm going to leave it like that. And we're just going to see what that looks like. Be closed. Now what happens? Notice the arrowhead no longer touches the wall. Okay, I'd have to actually come back in here and I'd have to move it from here to here, and I had to actually move it from the end point of here to perpendicular to here. I'd have to move that. So that wouldn't work very well for me if I had a whole bunch of these in my drawing. If I had 37 of these in drawings, I don't want to go back to every one of them and make a slight adjustment to that. So understand what the purpose of your block is for. Okay, so I'm going to be at this. Actually, I'm just going to undo. And undo that, be close. Actually, I'm going to do something else. I'm going to erase this, and this. Okay, and I'm going to make this a block on its own. I'm going to say B, save as, and we're going to call this just arrow. Sorry, you guys can't see that. I'll bring that over there. Let's call that just arrow. Click OK. And what I'm going to make the base point this corner right here. Okay, so I'm going to move this, move from END point of here to 0, 0, 0. Now, the difficulty of this is you are dragging from the front the rotation of this block. Okay, so you're gonna aim, you're gonna drag from the tip to where you want to point, not from the tail end to what you want to point. So understand that when I tell you place this. Be closed. I'm gonna go ahead and erase this one. I'm gonna move this one back over somewhere else because it means something different, okay? F8. All right, so I'm gonna insert, dash insert. And it's not room tag, it's just called arrow. And I'm gonna place that on the mid of here. Now, it's asking for a scale, enter, enter. Now, again, if I point down, that's not what I want. I want it pointing up towards this. So I'm gonna say perpendicular to here. And now I'm there. So now if I make any modifications to this block, say I make this arrowhead longer, or I do anything there, as long as I'm doing it from this side of the insertion point, it's gonna work and it's gonna be good for me. So let's do this. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna copy this from here to here. I'm gonna RO this here to here. All right, and I'm gonna mirror here, this from here to here, boom. All right, so now I have these arrows that are pointing on the walls, okay? So now I'm gonna be edit this block, the arrowhead, and I am going to stretch this out. Boom, a little bit longer. Actually, I'm going to delete this, and I'm gonna put P line from EMD there to EMD point to here. Now I can further optimize this block because now these are all individual polylines. Okay, I can use the p-edit command to join those. So I'm going to type in p-edit because I want to optimize this a little bit better. Okay, I don't want all the overhead for multiple p-lines. I'd rather have one p-line head and then all the points that go with it. So I'm going to say J for join. And I'm just going to crossing all this stuff here. All right, now that's good. I'll be closed and save. And now notice that the arrow does not stick past. It actually stays with the point it needed to be referenced. So keep that in mind when you're actually drawing your, creating your blocks. What are they going to be used for? What is the good base point that you want to be used for? And also understand the alignment and the rotation that you're going to have to deal with on that. We'll probably cover this a lot more, but I just wanted to make sure you guys understood that concept. Okay, now we're going to play with a couple different things. Let's talk about our 3D segment for right now. Okay. We're going to kind of play with let's go with the sweep command today. All right. Sweep is kind of neat because you can draw a P line. And I can say boom, 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 boom. And I can put a fillet on that radius. Let's say radius of, say, this. And I'll see P for P line. Boom. And there it is. I can draw a circle. And I can put this circle here. And then I can actually extend this and make this from a line, a P line, to a tube. Okay, and I'll type a sweep. And I'm going to select the objects to sweep. This and here. Boom, here. But I'm doing this wrong. All right. I'm sweeping this object. Okay. Now I'm sweeping my path. This is the path that I'm selecting for to go down. Now it erased the polyline and it erases the circle. But now I have this circle here. I'm going to type in, I'm going to actually put this on a different layer so we can see it a little bit better. Put that option 2. Oh, when I purged out the layers, I got rid of the layers I was not using. Okay, so you shade that, and now you can see that's actually like pipe or tubing. Okay, Brandon, I think at one point in time you did a little bit of air tube bending, didn't you? Instrument air tubing?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so you can actually do some of that with this. So when you get into those things, you're kind of, making this stuff happen. So if I undo back a couple of times here, boom, I can make this smaller. I can put some offsets in it. I can also undo those polylines there. I can put this at an angle. I can take this in here. This could go here, kind of weird how to do it that way. Okay, kind of go from there. You can take this and go down here. And so you can kind of see what you're doing here. So you can actually get into this a little bit more. And again, that's a sweep command. Okay, I'm going to draw a circle. And the object that I want to sweep across it, I'm going to set this to, say this was a small tube. Let's say 0.375 was the size of the tube. I'm going to do diameter, 0.375. Okay, and then I'm going to type in sweep. Okay, sweep means it's going to sweep something down across a path. I'm going to sweep this circle. And then it's asking for my path. I'm going to pick here, boom, and it goes down. All right. Now I didn't fill it anything, so I don't have nice clean bends there. So I'm going to undo that. and I'm going to put a nice fillet on there because I want that to have a nice radius curve around that. So I'm going to type in fillet. I'm going to set my radius to 5 inches. Okay, I'm like P for P line. Boom, and there it is. Now I'm going to sweep. And again, I'm going to pick the object I want to sweep, hit enter because I'm done selecting objects, and then I'm going to pick this to sweep it down. Now, what's also nice is you don't have to just do one object. You can sweep multiple objects down it. So I'm going to undo. All right, so now let's do something else. Let's make it, let's put a little an extra, actually do a couple circles here. I'm going to copy this. Boom. And now let's sweep it. Now, what I think it's going to do, I don't use sweep a lot. I use extrude path a lot, but I think what it'll do is it will take the center between these two and then sweep that down this right here. So now you have almost like a double gauge shotgun here. Okay. So again, we're going to stick all this. I need to set that on layer, but we'll put all that on the layer so you kind of see it a little better. And we'll shade it. And you can kind of see what that does. So you could draw another shape if you wanted to and actually have it sweep that down. So how can we do that? Let's see. Undo. I'm just undoing because it's easier to get back to this point here. So let's do something different. In window, let's not use a circle. Okay, let's use something here. What if we wanted a little channel from here to here? Kind of like a Hot Wheels track. Okay, P-line from QUA of here down to point Y of QUA of here down, and then over to point X of QUA of here. Boom, and then up to QUA of here. Now, since it's a polyline, you want something closed. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here 0.0625, boom, and then I'm going to come down here 0.125, and then I'm going to come over here. I don't know my distance, so I'm just pick there, and then I'm going to go to perpendicular to here. It's not going to be pretty, but it still works. I'm going to hit C for close. Now I'm going to erase these circles. All right, now I'm going to sweep this across this line here. Okay, so sweep. And I'm going to pick the object I want to sweep. It's a closed polyline, so I can do that. And I'm going to hit my path. Boom. And now if you look at it, shade. Now it's not facing up, kind of what I was expecting it to, but it kind of works the way it works. Okay, so you might want to keep that in mind when you're drawing these things. You'll get adjusted to how it actually works. But you can see how now you have a little race car track. Okay, we can rotate that this way. And now we have a little race car track. All right. Let me put it to yellow. That would make it life a little easier. Boom. Boom. All right. So does everybody see how that works?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. Good deal. Now you can take a marble and roll that down that race car track. Okay. So there's a little bit of 3D for you, and that's the sweep command. Something else to play with is you can draw shapes and get them to be all kinds of funny things and everything else, and then sweep it across something else. You can also create half objects and a variety of different things. There are the basics where drawing a sphere, you can use type in the sphere command. And again, just pick a point, you can draw your sphere as big as you want or whatever you want to do with it. Okay, you can specify a radius or a diameter. Right now it's specifying a radius. Okay, if you look down here at the prompt, that's what it's telling you to do. And then you can also specify a diameter and it would actually be that size. All right, so you can do things with these. You can array these things. You can actually build other things as well. But what if you wanted something that was round, but not a circle? Okay, let's go to plan drawing here. I'm going to draw a line. Okay, I'm going to go right in the middle here. This is my line. All right, so I want to draw a kind of a cool looking vase or something like that. Okay, I'm going to go P line, and I'm going to go from E and D point up here. I'm going to come out maybe 2 inches, okay, for my base. This is a big, I'm not going to go that tall. All right, and I'm going to come up to here, then I'm going to kind of draw it over here, 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 and I'm going to make it come up in here. It's going to be a thin deal here. Actually, do you remember those like lanterns? Let's make something like looks like that. And then I'm going to bring this perpendicular to here. Okay. And then I'm going to see close that. Okay. Now I could fill this, make it a little smoother if I want to or whatever, but I'm going to, and that's do that. This is actually, let's just use the P edit and I'm going to pick this and I'm going to say spline. That's going to make it look really weird. That's not quite what I'm looking for. So I'm gonna undo that. I'm gonna go fillet radius. No, my bad, undo. Fillet radius, and I'm gonna say 2 inches. I'm just gonna put that across some of these so it kind of smooths out a little bit. Because I was picking the points at just random, and now I'm just kind of creating some smoother points for it to actually kind of look a little better. You can do it with actual arcs if you want to, instead of doing what I'm doing. See, this radius is too big, so I'm going to fillet radius 0.75. Boom. And I think I can do the same thing here. Boom. All right. So now I have a kind of looks ugly right there, but that's okay. I have this shape. So this is a polyline. Okay. And that's the shape of it. So I can use what's called Rev Surf. Okay. Now there's a couple of things here. And one knows about Rev Surf. Surf tab 1 and Surf tab 2. These are things that you're going to use to actually control how many kind of like block edges it has. So the higher that is, the smoother your 3D object is going to be once it revolves this around this radius for us. So I'm going to exit that. I'm going to type in Surf tab 1, and I'm going to set it to 20. Surf tab 2, I'm going to set that to 20 as well. And now I'm going to Rev Surf. I'm going to pick the object I want to revolve. Okay. Oops, sorry. Pick it. You just can only pick one. All right. Then it says pick the axis. The axis is this line right in the center. That's my axis. And now it says start angle 0. And then if you want to go full circle, you hit 360 and go with it. If you just want to go partial, then you hit partial, 90 degrees, whatever. I'm going to hit 360. And there you have your vase. Okay. So now you have something that you can actually throw at somebody or put into a lantern or a lamp. All right. So you could actually draw a base for the lamp and actually put that out here, put a handle on it if you wanted to as well. And then you'd have all that. Now you could also, if you wanted to hollow this out, you could do that as well. Okay. So this is a mesh. Okay. Convert. That's it's mesh convert. Mesh. I don't use this very much. Mesh. Good God, where's that? All right, well, I'm not gonna mess with that. Okay, we'll get into that later. I'll look that one up. I haven't done that one in a while. But you can convert this to a solid, then you can actually put a smaller one inside there and then subtract it out. And then you'd actually have it hollowed out as you wanted to. Similarly, if you're actually doing pipe and you wanted to actually show an actual inside and outside diameter, you could do the same thing. So let's do that. Line. I'm gonna draw. Boom, 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 boom. Done. I'm gonna fillet radius, and I'm just gonna pick a radius out of here somewhere. Boom, 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 and boom. Now I'm gonna draw a circle. Here, boom, and then I'm gonna offset that circle just a little bit. Now I can sweep this. I'm gonna sort these, and I'm gonna go to this path here. Now, if you look at this, if I can get to where I'm looking at the inside there, you can see it's 2. There's one there and one there. So if I erase this one, it's still solid. So undo, you type in subtract. You subtract from the outer, you pick the outer, and then you subtract the inner, and now you have a 2. So now it's actually hollow all the way in the center. So that's how you can actually kind of hollow things out if you're actually working with that particular aspect of it. All right, I am going to stop there. That's kind of give you a little bit to look at. My reason I was going on a tangent for blocks is because I've seen a lot of stuff in the last few days where I'm just annoyed. And I'm sad to see some of the things that are happening in my industry as far as the things people are doing to make stupid, enormous files that are 40, 50 megabytes in size, and they should only be like 200 to 300K. Excuse me. And so that really bothers me because when you start dealing with super large files, your life will become hell, especially if you're running on a slow network or if your processor can't handle a whole lot of information and you get into these rather large models, it will drive you crazy with the amount of stuff that actually happens in there. And you're like, why is this so messed up? And it's because somebody just didn't manage their things very well at all. And so this is why I'm kind of going to work on that and kind of gonna drive you guys crazy with it. So there you go. Guys, have any questions?
No, I'm just looking forward to messing with it. I love blocks.
Okay, well, good deal. Blocks are definitely a good thing. And there's a ton of symbols out there. Also, we did talk about go ahead and get your AutoCAD web subscription and kind of get that in place. Now, if you're ever looking for symbols or something like that, you can always go to Google, type in electrical symbol. Okay, you can hit that and you can just about see any kind of symbols here. All right, you can click on any of these images here and see all kinds of things that you can start drawing or play with as far as drawing. Now you click on this, see all kinds of things here. You click on this, see all these things here. There's a resistor. What are these things here? And this is probably a pretty good one here. Let's see, like grounding, fuse, and stuff like that. There's all kinds of symbols out there that you will tend to work with. And I'm sure you use symbols in your drawings as well, Cody.
Oh, yes, sir. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and so you'll use a lot of these. These are very common symbols here. And as you start working in the industry, you'll start utilizing symbols and you start recognizing them on blueprints and everything else. Like this one here is talking about this is what a wiring concealed in the wall or ceiling. This is the wiring concealed in the floor. This is exposed wiring. This is wiring turned up. And these can also be for conduit instead of wiring. It'd be conduit turned up, turned down, and things like that. These are receptacles over here, different types of receptacles. Okay, duplex is the same single receptacle. 9 times out of 10, you're going to see this one on a blueprint for a house because they use all duplexes. 9 times out of 10, they do not use a single duplex or single receptacle. Okay, you'll have closed dryers for like showing like a 230 or range outlet here. You have a 40 amp and 30 amp, depends on what the process is for. And you have special purpose things here as well, 4 outlets and a lot of different things here too. Okay, so as you start to draw these things, you can think about what would be a useful insertion point for this one here. So if you're looking at this plug right here, where would you think the insertion point would be for this? Anybody?
To the right?
Over here?
Yes.
Okay, well, typically this is where the wall is going to be, is on this side of it. It sticks away from the wall. It shows out from the wall. So the wall will be on this side and this will be sticking out this way. So you probably want to put the insertion point right here at this little corner or this quadrant right here. And this is the correct alignment because that would be 0. So if your wall was behind it, you drag that way. If the wall is above or below it, you'd actually drag up. And so that's the kind of things you'd actually want to look at. All right. So good deal. All right, guys. That kind of gives us all kinds of things for you guys to look at and consider. Go ahead and get your AutoCAD web subscriptions in place for maybe next Wednesday if you can. And then we'll kind of play with that a little bit and see what we think of that. And we'll keep moving forward.
Sounds good. I went ahead and signed up for that already.
All right. Good deal. All right. Anybody got any questions? Liam, got any questions, buddy?
No, he's brushing his teeth.
Okay. All right.
He didn't have any questions though.
Okay. Did he like the extrude stuff and the sweep stuff?
He was kind of all over the place. I was trying to get him to focus most of the time.
Oh, okay. Good deal. All right. Cody, you have any questions?
I have one that's yeah. So like when you were doing like the blocks for like the labels and everything, are those would like so for example if you did just like text label would the text and you just did a bunch of those and like say the same amount of both, would the blocks take up less size than say the text for like the size of the file?
Not sure if you have text inside of a block, it's solid. You can't change it.
Okay, yeah, I got
Okay.
it. Okay,
So you have to use an attribute if you want it to be something you can change. Okay. But if it's just like a symbol, like the letter A, and you always want it to be the letter A, it's just going to be that one-time definition and it doesn't bother it at all.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay. All right. Brandon, any questions?
No, sir. Not until after I start messing with it.
All right. We'll get to messing with it.
I will.
All right. You guys have a great day and we'll talk to you guys later.
Yes, sir. Have a good night.
All right. You too.